My name is Lexi Cuddy. I like to race a lot with all my friends, and I ride a PW50, and I love to race. 5 years old.
Where do you live?
Canada.
Coming Up Next Time podcast is made possible with help from our friends at Bow Valley DJ, Yeti Mechanical Systems, as well as Built to Ride. If you enjoy this podcast, one of the best ways you can help out is to share it with a friend. Share links to your favorite episodes on your socials. If you wish to contribute directly, head over to www.comingupnexttime.com and become a patron. All funds raised will go towards our giveaways, as well as they help out local clubs through our sponsorship program. Coming Up Next Time is a proud sponsor of the Rocky Mountain Dirt Riders Association. Since 2004, Rocky Mountain Dirt Riders Association has been working to take care of our local Alberta trail systems. Whether you're an experienced rider or new to the sport, the RMDRA welcomes you. Hello everybody and welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Barrymore. My next guest is somebody who's been on the show before. She had plans to go to 6 days, however the pandemic got in the way of that. Nonetheless, she didn't quit, continued to raise money and train. Now she's here to tell us about her experience at one of the most difficult enduro competitions in the world. Coming up next, this is Kristen Brodrick. Oh, excuse me. So how are you doing?
I'm pretty good, actually. Like, been pretty relaxed, kind of took a bit of time off. So I'm, kind of uneventful right now because of the winter, but. Yeah,
that's fair.
How about you?
About the same. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like everybody, I sort of just calmed down for a little bit and was just like, fuck it. And, just whatever. I don't know how to describe it. Just took a break. It felt like with all the free time of the pandemic, all of us tried really hard to fill that free time. And then without realizing it, I was sort of slowly burning myself out. Yeah. So it was.
I feel like that sums it up pretty much.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I think pretty well everybody I've spoken to has had that whatever feeling, it's just like, almost some folks sort of guilty with their free time. And then others are just like, I'm not going to waste mine. And then either way you slice the pie, the same result. Everybody's just sort of like burned out. Like
everyone's in this phase of recovery.
Yeah. And so many people dropped off social media and all that shit just to like recover. And I don't know. And I think kind of in the first year of it all, it was fun to be on social media because it was like the only way to talk to people.
Yeah.
And then you sort of create that need for social media, and then like all good drug addicts, we quit around the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
definitely accurate.
So how was work? Like, did that get crazy for you guys or?
It got really, I feel like all the stuff we anticipated to happen during all like the height of everything, people were too scared to come to the hospital. So like we were just seeing people who waited too long. So they were really sick, but it wasn't really busy in a sense that we were like over capacity in my department.
Yep.
But then once things kind of laid off and masks came off, like where I work got insane. And I'd say in the last month, we kind of have noticed it taper off a little bit, but, it's still kind of, I don't trust it. Like it feels weird. I'm walking on eggshells because I'm like, when is the 120 plus people going to show up?
Oh, wow.
So, and we're usually, I don't know, normal work stuff, normal nursing stuff where you're like, we're chronically short staffed and just like over capacity. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
So we're in this recovery phase, but I'm also like tired from work.
And are you still getting out? Obviously not right now, but like during the fall, were you still getting out regularly to ride and train and all that?
Yeah, actually, it was kind of this year. It was kind of funny because just like how you'd expect, you're really, really busy. And then as soon as you stop, your body's like, oh, okay, we'll get sick now.
Yep. That's me all the time.
Exactly. Right. So, and I kind of was hoping, that it wouldn't happen that way, but it did. So right after, cause we came home from France, and then, that month, at the end of the month, there was, the corduroy enduro. So we went to that, and I ended up injuring my knee a little bit there. And, as soon as I got home, I got really sick, with the flu. And then kind of after that, I had a lot of inflammation in my lungs. So I thought I was feeling better. I tried to go ride, and I just couldn't do it yet.
Okay.
So it just was a prolonged kind of one thing after another. And I just ended up not getting to ride very much.
Yeah.
Or seriously. So I kind of was like, you know what, I'm just going to take this time and I'm going to kind of recover, because my knee was there was just fluid in my knee. So it wasn't too bad, but every time I tried to do something like jumping or my normal workouts,
yep,
it just got more inflamed. So I just didn't do anything. I just went to work and went to the gym when I felt like it and didn't do any jumping.
That's all right though. Like, who are we kidding?
Yeah.
It's pretty no jumping. Feel like it when you go to the gym. It's like that's ideal versus I have to go. Yeah. So yeah, first off, thanks for coming back. And
thanks for having me.
Secondly, thanks for achieving all your goals from when we last spoke.
Yeah, I could. When you mentioned that earlier, I was like, oh my God, you're right. I ticked boxes. That's a great feeling.
Yeah, man, you totally ticked boxes. Like, you only had so many and they were all ticked off. Like, you wanted to participate in the ISDE. You're planning to get married, like whatever, yeah. No big deal. All these things kicked off. So what are you going to do next?
I know. Yeah, I know. I kind of, nothing quite feels as big as that.
No.
Definitely, like, for the upcoming season here, my biggest goal is to like find consistency in my racing. Because I still kind of ebb and flow when I'm out there a little bit. So that's what I want to do. I think that's what will make the difference when I'm racing with those girls who have more experience than I do and in racing. So I'd like to, Alberta has a new class that was added, a women's pro class. That's in addition to what we had initially, which was the women's expert class.
Okay.
Now they're both A-loop classes. It's just that now women's pro will be starting further up in the A group. So we're not always trying to go through maybe some of the stragglers.
Yeah.
And then the nice thing about it is like, it's a payout class, things like that. You have to kind of qualify to be there. And I'm really happy about it because Alberta's got the best progression for women's classes. Like, you can do it at every level and you can progress how you like to. And I think now when you leave Alberta and you're racing in other areas, it's called women's pro, but it feels kind of funny when you're in Alberta and you're like, well, that's not what they call us.
How do you mean?
Maybe
well,
I guess, yeah, the other classes, when you leave Alberta, it's other than like BC and Alberta are kind of the same, but when you leave the classes that we're supposed to be racing in as women's pro,
yeah,
you almost feel like an imposter.
Oh,
so, or maybe that's me. That could be my own stuff.
I'm sure you're not alone though. Like, one thing I've noticed in a lot of the riders is we all have the same anxieties. So I doubt that you're alone in it.
Yeah. I mean, even if we were a women's pro from the get-go, I probably would have had that imposter syndrome regardless, but it's just kind of gives you that little bit of maybe recognition for what you've done. So I'm really excited that Alberta was able to do that, and hopefully other provinces will follow suit that haven't.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to follow that in its entirety. Sorry, long story.
No, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. And then in BC, I'd like to do the Western Championship rounds if possible. And definitely going to Red Bull Outliers. We'll be going to Silver Kings, hopefully, in the States. That's the only one I think we can make it to. And then I think, other than that, corduroy for sure. We'll be going back to that because it's always a really good time.
Nice. Yeah. Sounds like a pretty full dance calendar.
It actually is. When I put on paper, it's a lot, but I'm kind of excited. We're going to keep it local because last year was kind of my year. I got to do what I wanted. So Josh, my husband he's my husband now.
Yeah, I know.
He gets to kind of pick what he wanted to do. And I think he really wanted to keep things closer and just be all in on our local series.
Yeah.
And then at least get one of the extreme rounds down in the States that cater to the things we like roots and rocks and mountainous stuff.
Yeah.
So that's probably, it'll be fun, I think.
I think it will be fun. I think so.
Yeah.
No plans for Argentina?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
I need to financially recover from what is 6 days, but there is Argentina, from my understanding, is really sandy.
Yeah. Oh, so it's not your
really
thing.
Not my cup of tea.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let me know when we go back to the mountains.
That's
and then I'm in.
Sounds good. It's like there's a plan now. So how did you like 6 days? Because that was a dream, and because of things, it got pushed back, and then you finally made it there. So,
yeah, because we were gonna go to Italy, and then just with everything that is involved with the COVID, that got pushed off. But,
yeah.
So I feel like every time anyone asks me how 6 days was, all I can say is like, it was awesome. Like the definition of the word epic.
Oh yeah.
It was just, I feel like I got really, really lucky. I don't think that happens always for me in racing. So it's like all of these things had happened in my past. And then I finally got to go to this big race and all the stars aligned, and it ended up just being like just such an amazing experience. Like, to a point where like the whole time that I was there, I kept trying to brain dump like everything that was happening to Josh.
Okay.
And because I was like, I'm going to forget things from today. And he's like, you're going to forget. It's okay. But I don't want to, because it was everything. There's so many moments that I was like, oh my God, I want to share it.
Yeah. But
yeah.
Let's start with the beginning, like just getting there, the transportation. Did you have to bring your own motorcycle, or did you rent one that was there?
We ended up going the rental route. Back when we talked last, I believe I was still riding a 4-stroke.
Yeah.
And shipping, and they don't have the model of bike that I have here in Canada in Europe.
Okay.
So I was having to go through all this stuff of just trying to make that work. And I decided after, like, I was kind of in the process of this decision and like hashing it out with my husband. And we finally kind of came to the conclusion that in order for me to go, I'm just going to have to go as stock as humanly possible. And I really wanted to get away from using some of the things that I was using. So I ended up switching over to a 2-stroke, and that was a great decision. The bike itself is kind of like, I call it a 3-stroke.
Nice.
Because it has that 4-stroke grunt, but it also very light. And then it has a really light clutch pull. So I actually am able to ride it stock without any kind of tools to help my hand, because I had that hand issue. And then I had like a tendon issue in my hand. So I was using a recluse for a while, and then the Midwest lever and all that stuff. So now I've just got like a little shorty lever on there, and it works perfectly.
Okay.
And I just have custom, like my forks are just revalved. So I stripped everything back pretty much, and then I just rented when I got there, and they give you a brand new bike. So it's like a present. You get there and they're like, here's your brand new 2023 6 days edition. And you're like, oh my goodness, look at all these cool parts. And then we rented there, and then you also rent service.
Okay.
So that was a difference this year compared to other years, is that we didn't, like, especially with COVID, like finding volunteers and shipping all of our container and everybody, like it was just not going to happen.
Okay.
So we rented service, and that goes through KTM, kind of their headquarters. And that ended up being such an incredible experience too.
The factory rider feeling.
Oh yeah. And they're like, it's like all their R&D department. So and they were so lovely, and they've done it so many times that you end up you bond with all the mechanics and everybody. And they were so awesome. Like I loved working with them. And then I have my own mechanic. He came with me. He's kind of like a factory mechanic in my opinion. So I kind of felt like I was really spoiled.
Nice.
But yeah, so we get down there. You just end up renting everything. So the only thing that was a struggle really getting down there was shipping parts and getting it there in time.
That's fair. Because no guarantees at that time either, right?
Oh, for sure. Everybody's luggage went missing. Everybody was like, everyone lost suspension somewhere along the line. So we all managed to get it. But Josh had to drive to Lyon, which is like a 2-hour drive from where we were staying, and like basically harass the airport because we had air tags.
Yeah.
And I could see that my bag didn't even leave Canada, and it was my suspension and parts bag. So I'm like, great. And then even actually funny story, when we landed in Lyon, we were waiting for our luggage, and I saw my teammate, Mary Claude, her bag was on the belt, and she had got there, I think the day before. And I'm like, I'm just like, it was just laying there. You could just pick it up and leave.
Okay.
There's like no security about it. So I ended up getting her stuff, which was really good. But then it made me paranoid that someone was just going to walk away with my luggage.
Yeah. Yeah, you're everything.
It all worked out.
That just sounds dramatic, though. Like
it was.
I was talking with DC the creator, or Dougie, and he was telling me about Jarvis coming to Canada with his suspension, and it got held up at the border because he didn't have the correct paperwork.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I wonder if they did that to you guys, kind of thing. Also, I was going to put on the tinfoil hat and wonder if everybody over there was just rooting for their own team, so they just hit everybody else's suspension, so you guys all had to ride stock. Well, they didn't.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I hopefully we can all manage if we have to ride stock, but it just wouldn't be that great.
No, I'm sure. Like from what I've learned in this podcast series is that suspension is almost more important than the engine.
Yeah, I don't, as long as you have suspension set up for you and you understand kind of what you're asking for.
Yeah.
It can be a big game changer for sure. Everyone says game changer, but I'd say the one piece that actually could be is that. Yeah,
I believe it. I believe it now. Like off the sales floor, on the sales floor, I wouldn't believe it. I just like, it's an upsell. You want like $1,700 from me, buddy, whatever. But now like talking to everybody and everything that I've heard and just how, I don't know, genuine everyone sounds about it. I don't think it's much of an upsell. I think it's like an essential.
Oh yeah, it can smooth out a lot of things because we're all different style riders and we're all different weights and different things are going to work for you. Like nobody's a stock. Like some people are stock guys. Howard Lawrence is a stock guy, but everybody else is not a stock guy.
He's a mutant in a good way. Like an X-Man.
But yeah, no, it was really good. Once you get kind of to France, or to like the 6 days, the kind of experience that happens is like once you arrive, you basically, as soon as possible, you start walking your tests.
Okay.
And tests, so every day there's like 6 or so, like it varies, but there's about 6 tests and those are the actual race part. Yep. So those are where they're taking your times and the fastest time is the winner kind of thing. And then you have transfer sections, which are just getting to each test kind of thing.
Okay.
And those are kind of timed, but in a different way. They just want you to be at your checkpoints on your minute.
Okay.
So that's where like the penalty stuff comes in and all that stuff that people talk about with enduros that we're not used to here in Canada. But basically you want to be on time. You can't be early. You have to stay on your minute. And that's where people can get penalized, but otherwise you're just trying to get good test scores. But yeah, so you walk every test and it's like literally as soon as we landed, we were out hiking every day for 3 days straight. And then you kind of get over your jet lag during all of that. And it's kind of nice because you get to see all the countryside. We got to see all the countryside from a different perspective, like out of town. Which I just like where we were was so beautiful and it was so varied in terrain that it was really cool.
Nice. So where were you? Like France is a pretty big place. So do you know the name of the town anymore or?
We were just outside of Le Puy.
Okay.
And the actual paddock, and pits and everything was in a place called Fille Saint-Chenet, which is like a very tiny little kind of like village.
Okay.
And it had an airport. So we actually were at the airport.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. So picture like kind of like a small town airport, just kind of big grass field, and they set up their headquarters there. And that was really cool, like so cool. And just seeing like other countries, and and in Europe it's such a big, like it's so much bigger than anything we have. So like some of their pits, like they had these sea cans that looked like transformers. They were like double decker. They all opened out, and they had all these tents and stuff and crazy teams. And like the States brought a forklift. I couldn't, like, it was just nuts.
Is it is it kind of like weird, like when you see these nations that just spend so much money on this stuff, and then we sort of like shoestring it?
It's weird. And I mean, sometimes it's a little bit, it kind of like it sucks a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you wish that Canada, we just don't, like, I mean, the States has the population.
Oh yeah.
We don't have the people or the riding culture in some of these other areas.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know what the answer is going forward with that. So, but we do have some very like dedicated volunteers and the team managers, which like make it all happen. So that's good.
Yeah.
And then I actually found that paying for support was really good. There was a couple of things that made it really worthwhile. It took some of the stress off, I think, for like even the people who came as support. Everyone brought a support person.
Yeah, of course.
And it takes like some of the stress off them a little bit. If you ask Josh, he probably was very stressed the whole time.
Oh, I could imagine.
Yeah, he was amazing. But like even still, you kind of need people who are invested in your race. Because like if things are going poorly, even when you're paying for support, they're not keeping track of your minutes.
Okay.
So if you're behind and maybe you're getting confused or something happened, or you're coming in and you're doing like a rolling pit kind of thing where you come through, you don't have time to get off and do your own thing.
Yeah.
Like one of the times Josh knew I was like I was almost gonna time out, because there was some congestion on day one, and I didn't know this because I'm a newbie, but there was a track marshal there and they saw it. So I didn't know that was likely going to be a time that they gave back because they saw the bottleneck.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was a stupid bottleneck. It was kind of funny, but I was kind of like, oh shit, sorry. And then I'm like, I gotta go. So when I got to my check, I was like 1 minute out. I was really pushing it. So I was like, I didn't even get gas. Because when you get into the pits, you have to drive fairly slowly and you need to enter the checkpoint in a specific order.
Okay.
So anyways, I ended up going through like on my minute, just barely. And I rolled it without getting any gas.
Oh man.
Which was, the joke after that was like, I kept rolling 2000 because we were playing dice all week.
Okay.
Because that one, I probably on a 2-stroke shouldn't have been pushing it, because I think it was an 80 kilometer to the net, like total of riding.
Okay.
Before getting gas again, and that's pushing it a little bit on those bikes.
Yep.
Especially when you're driving like highway speeds.
Yeah, you're drinking. Like it's just like, yeah, you can watch the gas go down.
Well, guess what? I made it.
Nice. Did you have to use the?
It worked out.
Did you have to use the trick where you lay it down and get the fuel from one lobe onto the other lobe? Just
No,
so you. Oh, that's
not
good.
even. I made it.
Oh, that's really
like,
good.
I just kind of like ignorance was bliss. I was like, you know what? I made a decision. I'm just going.
That's awesome. Was that the single? Was that like the single track section? Because Melissa was telling me about there was a section where she just slayed it, and then there was like a bunch of bottlenecking, and basically she lost all that she gained because everybody got that back.
Oh yeah, like in that, if they actually penalized people in that area, I probably would have been up further, like cut just from penalties on a transfer.
Okay.
Because of like even in my class, I was kind of like, come on, like you girls are so much, like, because in the great scheme of things, these girls are really good. They do like, they're like motocross champions. They're like doing enduros all the time. Like a 6-day is not a big deal to them.
No, yeah.
And they're so fast in their tests, but in the transfer, like seeing some of them like struggle, because what the bottleneck was this little route section that was on a side hill. and people were like sliding down it. And then once you got past that, you had to go up, and there was like this flat faced rock that you had to kind of, it was like a really short entry into it. And then you kind of had to load up the rock face, and then you had to pivot at the top and land to your right into the single track.
Okay.
Which, like, thinking about what we ride here, you're like, that's just a thing. It's just a thing on the trail, right?
Yep.
But people were having quite a difficult time there, and it was just a lineup. And then, like, you go do it, and you're like, what's the problem? So, but yeah, I know they gave our time back, which it's okay. It is what it is. Lesson learned.
Yeah.
But it's funny what you see as a bottleneck and what isn't.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, yeah. That's like, so that, and that's like your first day pretty well, right?
That was day one. Yeah. So there was a couple funny things that happened on day one. Cause like me and Mary Claude, who's from BC, like this was our first 6 days. And we knew that like, we're not going to be riding with Shelby for too long. Like day one, we would be with her when the checks and that she would probably get up ahead of us.
Yep.
And then by the next day, she probably would have moved up in her minutes just based on her test times. So me and MC kind of stuck together that first day for the first while. And then when we got to that bottleneck, things got a little bit hairy. And I was like, I get so stressed about being late in my normal life that I was just like, I gotta go. Like I'm out of here. So we ended up kind of splitting up a little bit there, but throughout the week we would kind of meet up back together. So in a way you're riding with your team, but you're not dependent on each other. Like if one of us has to branch off, we just go.
Okay. That makes sense. And then, okay. So there's one thing I want to ask and clarify, because but like when you say arrive on your minute, what do you mean by that exactly? Like, I just don't get it.
Okay. So say we start riding at 10 o'clock.
Yep.
They'll tell you that you have to be at the next check by, and I'm just going to pick an easy number, by 10:30.
Okay.
Checks are usually longer than transfers are longer than that. But basically your minute would be 10:30. So if you have 30 minutes to get from point A to point B based on this minute, everyone else, like you in that. So say if you're 10 o'clock, that means the next person's going to be 10:01 and then 10:02. So they would be 10:31, 10:32.
Okay. I get it.
So usually what happens is on the transfer section, somewhere along there, you're going to run into a test.
Okay.
So you're riding, you get to a test. It doesn't matter when you start on the test. You just go when you're ready. They take your time and then you continue on until you get to your check.
Okay.
Now, ideally, say if I'm supposed to be there at 10:30, my goal would be to get there at the bare minimum 5 minutes early, but a good time would be like 10 minutes.
Okay.
So that you can get there, gas up if you need to, have something to eat if you have to go to the bathroom. Like you need time to do that, right?
Yep.
Or if you break something, you can actually, that's where you're allowed to do some maintenance. It's only at those checks. If you want help, because anywhere else, like if it's on the side of the trail, you're on your own.
Yeah.
So they say anyways, from what I saw, some people it was interesting. But anyways, we were down there. So say you do all that stuff, you leave and your next test check is at 10:30. You cannot roll through the check until 10:30.
Okay.
So if you went out at 10:39, you're actually 10:29, you're going to get penalized for being early.
Okay.
And if you go through at 10:31, you're going to get penalized because you're late.
Okay.
So you have to go on that minute. And they're not going to tell you either. So you have to keep track of your own minutes. And then that means that at every other check, so say I go through a minute late. Well, that means I have to adjust all my times by 1 minute to make sure that I'm not going through on what I thought was my minute because I was late now. So all your times change.
Okay. I get it.
I know that it sounds a little bit like a mess, but it's not too hard to figure out.
Yeah.
When you're there. So you're like, okay, I just add a minute and then you're good to go.
Okay. That makes sense. And then it keeps everything sort of orderly. Everybody's arriving.
It does, Can you imagine if everyone was just doing it on their own and there's like 600 riders? It'd be awful.
Yeah. Because there'd be another bottleneck at the check gate.
Oh yeah. And sometimes there would be, like, by the end of the week, for some people, like they'd come through and some of the riders from the back, like the faster club guys, would start like trying to get through the tests ahead of you. And you're like, hey man, I'm on my minute. You're way ahead. Like you have to let me through first. So you do kind of have to be assertive.
Okay.
Again, even with that, I was really lucky. I didn't have that problem, but I do know other riders who did. And it was like, they had to get to a point where they're like, you have to let me through, or you'd be like pushing them out of the way.
Okay. I get that.
So,
yeah,
stuff like that.
Racers being racers and all that stuff.
Yeah. But
you're basically going on to day 2, because we had the funny story about whatever, just the bottleneck and all that stuff. Then I asked you to explain the minute, which is my fault. I should have waited till you're done day 2 and started day 3.
No, it's okay.
All good. Yeah. Oh, no.
Honestly, day 1 had so many funny things. Like when we started riding, it was really cool because like Jessica Gardner and like all the girls who are like the top 5 and have been for years were like, we were all riding together.
Yeah.
And like at one point, and this is, I guess it's not really my story to tell, but it was just one of those things that happens when you're kind of overwhelmed and it's the first day. But we were riding and we were doing this, like this trail was like, we finished all the road stuff and I was kind of following MC because like she adventure rides and she rides street bikes and stuff and I don't. So I was like, I need to follow you on the road because I don't even understand.
Yeah.
Like pacing a road or what a corner looks like. So she was kind of showing me how to do that. And then when we got into the single track, like I'm following her along and it was kind of cool. It was this like super tight switchback downhill and it was really rocky in the corners. And like, you had to do some pretty decent drops where you're like, a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
And we were riding along the side of this little pond and like this little edge of trail. And it was big kind of rolly rocks on the trail. And we're just like trucking along and suddenly out of nowhere, MC just like hard left right into the pond.
Oh,
and like, this is like not even maybe an hour into riding. And I'm like, oh, so like I throw my bike and I run up and we're like, her bike is almost completely submerged in this pond. And we're both looking at each other like, oh my God, your race might be over. And I'm like holding up the back and she's just trying not to let it fall over so that like her air box won't go in the water. And I'm like, we have to pull it literally just straight up because you can't push forward or back. It's going to go under the water. And then right then all the Aussie team shows up and they're like, let's do this. And all of us just like, it took 2 seconds. We pull the bike out and we're on our way.
That's rad.
It was the coolest. Like, I'm like, it totally sucked in the moment, but it was like, quick save. We're good. Mulligan. Won't do that again. So I was like, MC, don't scare me.
Yeah, no shit.
Like, she's like, she was just riding along and she just hit rock funny.
Yeah.
And it just boom, right in the water. But no, she was good. It was fine.
Checking out the scenery and then getting more intimate with it.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. That's crazy. Like, I mean, it literally could happen to anybody. Like, who are we kidding?
Oh,
like
it was one of those things. It was like just purely luck.
Yeah. Bad luck.
So we were okay.
And that's and it's nice that, help just shows up like that. Imagine if it was a different nation, it might have been a different story.
Oh, yeah. There was only one that was maybe, I won't say who, but I was kind of like, you guys are a little bit
too much.
Not a fan of your sportsmanship, but everyone else was really, really helpful. The women's class was a bit different. I think everyone was kind of like, they all were helping each other.
If we were to leave Alberta in a car, could we get to that other nation?
No.
Oh, okay. Just checking. I was wondering.
It's not what you'd expect. I'll tell you off camera.
Okay. Yeah. That's fair. I'm curious now. Curious as hell. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that little teaser. I'm not going to bad talk anybody.
No.
But yeah, so that was really cool. And like, so day 1 and 2 were the same course. Day 3 and 4 are the same course. 5 was a separate day. And then 6 is a motocross race.
Okay.
It was really cool because the week went on, the trail, like the transfers and the tests got progressively more technical in terms of like more off-road.
Okay.
Like more rocks, more roots, more hill climbs.
Okay.
The tests themselves are really fast. Like we're talking grass track, like flat track corners, but like on a side hill. Everything's cambered and just like hanging on for dear life while you slide.
Oh,
And
God.
then, like I said, it just progressively got more, for me, I felt like it just got more like at home.
Okay.
So
I can see that.
Yeah. There was a comfort level with it. Even though you're getting beat up, you're getting more and more beat up as the week goes on. Shelby mentioned that she felt like it was more of a technical race than some of the others she's done in the last few years.
Okay.
So that was kind of cool to hear that we were getting like a good one.
Yeah, fair enough. Like instead of just fluff, right?
Yeah. And like something that maybe caters more to like me and MC and definitely Shelby.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, the tests themselves, even when they were more technical, were still very fast. There's nothing like out of the realm of what we would race at home, like nothing overwhelming, but the transfers did progressively get more like fun in terms of like rock features and like some hill climbs, single track. And so that was really fun for me. I really enjoyed that. But I'm going to be honest, like by the end of like day 2, I loved the road because it gave you a break.
Okay.
Yeah, I went from being like not into the road to being like, oh yes,
this is the stuff. Yeah. Road riding can be a good time.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Day 1 and 2 were like 8 hours and 15 minutes each for scheduled bike like ride time.
Okay.
So they were also kind of longer than they usually are from what I was told from other experienced 6 days riders. Yep. So those are long days to be on a bike. And then day 3, 4 was more 7 hours and something, but those were really cool. I liked those days. And day 5 was the most technical of all of them in terms of difficulty. And it rained. It was my birthday too.
Well, happy birthday. Here's some rain and some hard work.
Honestly, it's like, I don't know if I'm ever going to have, like, that birthday was the best birthday I've ever had. I think, like I said, you get to know kind of the support staff and your Team Canada, like everyone got to know each other really well.
Yeah.
And on day 5, and even too, like with the mechanics, because they can't actually do your maintenance, but they're there as your support. We all kind of ended up with a specific mechanic. Like they kind of found a person that we just kind of,
you click.
I don't know. They kind of picked you.
Yeah.
And it was always a good pairing. At the end of it, day 5, when I came down in the morning, I'm kind of skipping ahead, I guess.
That's okay.
But this is the biggest thing that I remember from 6 days. And just like for a perspective in terms of 6 days, if you finish day 5, you've basically done it. Because day 6 is a motocross race. Okay. You could literally just do a lap if you're not looking for points, and you'd be a completed, like you've done it. So if you can finish day 5, you've accomplished your goal.
Yeah.
At least at the base of finishing one. And I think all of us as a new rider, if you're there, your first goal primarily is just to get through it.
Yeah.
So getting to day 5, I woke up and came down in the morning, and Josh had got me like some 6 days swag and like saying me happy birthday. So it was just like a lovely morning. And then when I got to the paddock and I went to go because in the morning you get a 10-minute work period on your bike.
Okay.
All of that is timed. So you go to impound, you get your bike from impound, and you go through on your minute. And as I was walking through into the work area, all of the KTM guys started singing happy birthday.
Oh, wow.
And like, it was just kind of one of those like surreal, cool moments, and just kind of set the tone for the rest of the day. Went and rode, and I feel like the universe gave me like the most beautiful flowy single track for like the first 2 hours of the day. Like it was just so awesome. I think things did get like
worse,
technical and worse, and that was the day that I hit my physical and mental wall where I had to be like, you can do this. But it was just so awesome, and the trails were really neat. And then it did start raining, like I said. When it started raining at this test that I kept saying all week, like, if it rains, this is going to be terrible. And as soon as I got to it, it started raining because it was all side hill, and it looked almost like the Badlands, like that dirt that's like like clay almost.
Yeah, the evil mix of talc and clay.
Oh, totally. And we kept saying, like, if it rains, like, you're going to be lucky if you can stay between the ribbons, because you're just going to slide down on these huge side hills.
Oh, because they're all like off camber side hills? Like
everything. Oh, yeah. Nothing was flat. There was no flat, like, I swear, for the entire time.
That's brutal.
It was funny too. So it started raining. I got going and I was like, I just got to keep it on 2 wheels. And I could, like, there were so many fans at this that was really cool too, but they were usually so loud. And I remember doing this race. It's raining. I can't see. I'm just trying to keep, I feel like I'm riding in like baby poop. I'm just trying to keep the bike upright. And I remember coming around this corner and the bike's sliding and I'm holding on, just trying to keep it together. And it was like so quiet and there's people everywhere. And I felt like they were holding their breath with me.
Oh my God.
And like, yeah, like it was this weird, I don't know, I'm making it up maybe, but like as I come
through, it's how you felt though.
And then oh yeah. And then I realized all I can hear is me going, just being like, just keep it up. But that one actually, like I managed to get through and it ended up being one of my personal better times.
Nice.
Just from not falling.
Yeah.
And then, because the girls are just like, they're pushing it no matter what. So they were crashing kind of thing, but they're still fast. And then by the end of it, Josh gave me he actually showed up. He was actually able to make it to that one and he got me a fresh pair of goggles. But then right after that, we were on this like little country road that like zigzags and it's like, 1 car width. And we were going around this like I was going around this S corner and there was so much rain and the bike out of nowhere just tucks out from under me.
Oh God.
And I'm sliding on my stomach and I can see my bike above me and we're just sliding down the road and I'm just waiting to stop because I'm pretty sure I was somewhere. I was like in the mid top of 3rd at that time. Like I must have touched the front brake or something. And I just scared the crap out of myself. The bike was fine.
Yeah.
I was fine. I was just very nervous. So. No
doubt. So basically you're just cornering, touch something and just sucked out from underneath you. And then the pair of you just sliding down the road together.
Yeah. Just sliding down the road on my stomach. And like my front of my helmet is like all road rash burn and like the front of my jersey and pants are all ripped open.
Oh God.
And then I get to, but I'm fine. Like you get up and you pat yourself down.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah. You'll do it.
Check the
You're
bike.
Okay.
It's fine.
Nice.
So I'm like, okay, near miss. But I ended up getting into the check and Mario, one of our team managers, was at that check. And I come in and he's like, Kristen, like, how are you doing? And I just start crying.
Because you got asked. Like you probably would have held it together without that.
Yeah, I was like, I just fell on the road. It's really dangerous. And I think like there was a couple things, like there was another country, their team was kind of, they were doing things deliberately that were really frustrating for me because they were constantly like they were getting in the way.
Yeah, I can see that.
So there would be like these big rock features and you couldn't really see, and then you'd come around and the whole team would be helping each other. And then you wouldn't have a run up anymore. And then they would look at you, like literally look at you and then just leave.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And then Canada, we're all separated and we don't have like not like that. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm doing it on my own, and it would just get frustrating. So I was like, I kind of wanted to be like, come on, be a woman about it, like do it yourself.
Yeah. But
so I think all the frustration of falling and scaring myself and then just getting annoyed by this other team, I was like, I just cried and then it was good. I was over it.
That's sweet. A little cry in the race isn't a big deal. I'm sure more people do it than they talk about.
Oh yeah, I knew it was going to come at some point, and I finally, and it's as soon as I saw Mario and he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm not okay." Well, I'm okay, but I'm crying and I don't know why.
Yeah, and I hate it. So now I'm crying because I'm crying.
Yeah, I'm like, why don't you I just feel like everyone should be doing it for themselves, and I'm like, that doesn't really affect me, so I'm just going to keep riding. I'm happy, I swear.
That's fair, and I mean, it's a legitimate point, right? Like it's an individual test and trial, so it's not like technically a team sport, even though there's all those teams. And Yeah. But I guess like even in Red Bull, you know, the other riders can help riders, but spectators can't. So I guess that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, there was other instances kind of during the week because this is day 5 where
it's all over. You're already frustrated as shit.
Actually, well, they had ghost riders who were helping, so I think I was just kind of like by day 5, I was like, I'm so sick of this.
What's a ghost rider?
Other people who are not racing who are like part of the team support, so they kind of follow in transfers and stuff.
Oh, on other bikes,
but they're not supposed to be doing anything.
Yeah, I get it. They're supposed to shadow and follow and observe, but not touch. Yeah.
No touchy. Yeah. So, well, whatever. It is what it is. It's not like I was going to be winning any of it. So I was like, whatever, I'm just frustrated. But then we moved on, and like, it was just like, it kind of, the rest of the day kind of turned into what feels like riding in McNutt, almost like really rainforesty, like really lush, dark green and like cool black, like volcanic rock and rocky and cool hill climbs, and it was just really cool. And then by the end of the day, when it was over and I realized like, oh my God, I'm on my minute still, because I thought that was the day that I was going to get a penalty because I'd somehow managed all week to not get a penalty.
Okay.
We got to the day 5 and I'm like, this is the hardest one. I'm really tired. Like, this is the day that's going to happen. And then when I was getting into the final work period, I realized that like, oh my God, I'm on my minute. And then I'm rolling in and I'm like,
happy birthday.
God, I did it. Yeah. So I was already like getting really emotional about it. And I'm like, I'm not doing any tire changes. My bike's in one piece. Like, I don't need to do anything in my work period. I don't even care.
Yeah.
Like, this is the best case scenario.
That's so
then
sweet.
I go in, and as we're rolling into the pits for the final work period, they were all singing happy birthday. They got me cake. They got me some sparkling wine. And I just like cried like a big loser. And it was the best thing that's ever happened.
Not a loser, man. That's like, you should cry at a moment like that. Like, everything's coming together. It's all coming up, Kristen. Like, and then happy birthday, just icing on the cake. You arrived on your minute. You don't have to do any work. And here's bubbly wine and birthday songs.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you cry?
I was like, yeah, it was overwhelming and the best. And like, my husband was there, and then the team was there, and all these new like kind of friends that you make while you're there. And then my parents, like my mom and my stepdad, were there.
Nice.
So it was just kind of best thing, you know. And then to see like my teammate, everyone had got through on time, and that was just kind of, and MC, it was her first one too. So I think we both were like, we both had similar feelings. So we were both just breaking down, kind of like, what a relief, but like, wow, this is the best thing. So in retrospect, it was just like awesome.
Oh man. If I was ever to go to 6 days, I'd like to go back in time to that one. Like, legit.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know. Okay. So 6 days aside, of all the people I talked to in motorsports, without a doubt, hands down, you fangirl the most over anybody about other riders, and some of them are on your own team. So how did you keep that in, like, did you like, I don't know, were you able to keep it under control, or you're always like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm riding with this person and that person. Like, this is so sweet.
I feel like I kept it under control. I did. I feel like actually meeting them, I mean, I fangirl people, and I kind of know like what they're like. I know what they're racing and like all the things, like I know their accomplishments and what they're working on. Yeah. But then I'm very awkward as well.
We all are,
the
man.
hardest person to talk to in real life.
Yeah.
So I think the nice thing, like Shelby knows everyone, so she was able to kind of introduce people just because she's friends with them and she rides with them. So everyone was super down to earth, and in this situation, I felt like it was cool. Like no one was full of themselves, or everyone was really down to earth and super helpful. Like I said, like the Aussie team was just like, yeah, we got you guys, like, let's go. And then if you had any questions, they're like, oh yeah. I remember like at one of the checks, I was like, anybody need Advil? Like I'm just handing out Advil. Like
little drug dealer.
Oh, totally. I'm like, no, I'm 30. I need it. But no, everyone was amazing, and like it was really cool. Like me and Rachel Goodish exchanged jerseys.
Oh, nice.
She got my disgusting like wet, muddy one from day 5 when
Yeah,
I
road rash.
Because I totally forgot to bring like a fresh one for her.
Oh.
So I was like, I hope you're okay with the story attached to it at least.
Yeah. But that's a
I
real one,
wish
though.
I actually had more.
But
Right,
like,
yeah.
that's a real jersey. You hang that on the wall or whatever. Or even if you wear it, you're like, oh, this shit. This every one of these marks was earned. Like, it's not like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's all right.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like those guys who collect hockey jerseys that smell like the player. Like, oh, but they're happy as shit to have a hockey bag shirt. So
It's pretty cool, right?
yeah, it is cool.
It was nice of her because usually what people do is they trade with people who are on their minute, and I'm not on my minute with Rachel. So she was cool she was totally open to exchanging jerseys with me. And then I almost wish I had more jerseys because like there was a girl, Benny, from Australia who I really like. I felt like she was my Melissa Harton for 6 days. Like she was very similar. She had a similar vibe.
Yeah.
Similar steez when she rode. Like she was super consistent, just like looked effortless and like just super laid back. So I thought she was rad.
Yeah.
And then we traded with a couple of the girls from Germany. So that was such a cool experience. Like I think, and then listening. So there was this huge jump on day 5. It was like this huge step up.
Okay.
And you'd come out of this corner and you could go literally as fast as your bike could go. It had such a long run up over this thing. And then you could send it over this huge step up that was sketchy as hell. And I'm like, I'm not jumping it. No, thanks. I don't jump anyways, especially not this. But everyone else is obviously jumping it. And we're standing there with all the trophy girls and Corey Steed, Brandy Richards, Shelby, Rachel. We're standing around and they're like, are you guys going to hit the step up? You're going to hit the step up? And it was either Brandy or Corey, but sorry, you can bleep me out. But they're like, I'm not a pussy. And I was like, I am. I'm the one.
I own it.
I'm like, I'll today I am.
Yeah.
But it was hilarious. That was so funny.
But there's like, you should, like, if you're not comfortable doing stuff like that could ruin the rest of your day. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. It was like, I'm not going there to learn how to jump. So I had awesome moments that were not in the tests, like some of the cool features that were part of the transfers. Like I had my own little private moments where no one's around to see it, but you're like, man, I just hit that rock face so good.
Aw, I hate that.
But
like,
that's okay.
There's like,
I'm crushing this single track. No one's around.
not a single witness, and it's fucking flow state time. Like,
yeah,
oh,
totally.
Oh man, I feel for you. Like,
it was so good. I had it. It was my moment.
Yeah, that's all right. There's nobody I'm happier for than you, if I'm being honest. Like,
oh, thank you.
Yeah, like you had a great time, and I'm glad that it was a great time. Like, because it sounds like it exceeded your dreams about the whole thing. I don't know anybody that was more jacked about even potentially going, or anybody that was so bummed about it being pushed off. So like,
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just so happy. Like,
yeah, thank you.
No trouble. And then I was also like, because I know what your little fangirl self, just wondering how crazy that person would be at the end of the day, running around. So, when did you getting all this shit from everybody?
Yeah, I'm like kind of keeping it on down low, but like I think you're really cool and awesome.
Yeah. Do you want to sign my water bottle? I'll keep it forever. Like, no.
Totally. Yeah.
You're the most human rider out there, so it's just like it's awesome.
Oh. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. You know what's actually one of the coolest parts about that race?
What's that?
On one of the transfers, like again, this is one of those moments that like no one's gonna get it, but it sounds silly, but we were riding along, I don't remember what day it was. It was some like in the middle of the week, and it was kind of foggy and the sun was kind of coming up and it looks like really bright orange through the fog kind of thing.
Okay.
And we're on the side of this, like, it was a 2-lane road on the side of this like big kind of rocky stuff. And like I said, it's volcanic. They're like kind of dark, almost black, and like lush green on it.
Okay.
And on the right side, picture it. And then on the left side, there's a sand beach and water. and I'm looking down just a little bit, you're on the road. I look over and I shit you not, there's a horse by itself out on the beach, just looking out at the water in the sun, just living his French life.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is like the most surreal, beautiful thing I've ever seen ever. And I was just like, mentally like snapshot, like remember this. If you don't remember anything, you remember this moment right now.
Nice.
And it was just so cool that, I don't know, just that for me, that was it. I was like, it was my birthday and that horse on the beach.
That's so rad. Like the thing I appreciate the most about you is like the snapshot. Like you knew well enough to make an effort to try to remember all this stuff so you didn't forget anything. Right? Like,
yeah,
it's in my other job, I try to tell the people who are having their special day to just slow down and like think about what you're doing right now and like take it all in and try to remember it, talk about it, whatever you can do, because the day goes by so quick. It's you're like, you get caught up in the day itself and you don't necessarily take the time to like appreciate the day. And then, it's over and you never hit record. Right? Like,
totally. Yeah.
So then you're fucked.
That was a legitimate fear I had.
That's a good fear.
Either my anxiety was going to take over and I wouldn't actually be able to appreciate or calm down or just let it happen.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that I'd worked so hard on it.
Yeah.
And I'd say that that's the other thing, that like all the stars aligned, that I absolutely had anticipation anxiety, and it definitely boiled over on one of the days where I was just like, I needed to be like, literally Josh was like, you got to check yourself. Cause it was just like boiling over.
Okay.
And then I was like, you're right. It's getting to be too much. And then after that, it was fine.
So,
and I'm often like this with races. It's like, as soon as it starts, I'm just in the moment.
Okay. Is it like, without having Josh there, could the outcome have been different for you?
I think it would have been really challenging for me. Like, sometimes we don't play off each other the best when it comes to like when I'm really overwhelmed with anticipation anxiety.
Yeah.
But he's also the person who understands me the most. And I think there was even a situation where there was a misunderstanding where they thought maybe he was, during the race, like making me feel more anxious, but I was already there.
Yeah, you did that to yourself.
My bike didn't start on the start line, and then it did, but I remember just being like, I tried all the things to get it going, and then I'm like, I think it's flooded. And then I wasn't in the moment sure. I was like, shit, what do I do next? And like, he ran over and was like, just open up the fuel line. And I'm okay, do it. And then it worked and I left. And it was like, but even at the checks, like if I am explaining to him what I'm feeling, because I only brought forks, I didn't bring a suspension or a rear shock.
Yep.
So when I went out, I was like, I'm getting like, it's kicking me in the ass. I'm getting like, when I'm landing off of things, it's like bucking. So I like let him know. And so often I just need to double check if I'm feeling like that cognitive overload.
Yeah, I get it.
Of like, I just want to make sure that I'm turning it clockwise and then I'm going to go about this far. Do you think that's going to be enough? Like, we just check in.
Yeah.
So those little things were like, I really like, we have a good relationship where that works. And then again, like say when I roll 2000, like he's the one who's like trying to make sure he can figure out where I am just in case I get stranded, which didn't happen. But he was kind of like, he just wanted to have an idea of where I was at. Cause you can't fuel up anywhere else other than the checks. But he was kind of like, I just want to make sure you're not in the middle of nowhere by yourself.
That's right.
So he kind of tracking me a little bit. And then when I had 2 checks where I kind of had to roll them. Every other time I had like 10 minutes or whatever. It worked out really well. But there was another one where I was coming in a little bit short on time, and they pull out a mat and they throw it out in the middle, so you're not having to get on and off, and you just roll through. They fill your bike really fast, kind of like with those speed fill cans, and then you go. And he's the one keeping track of my time, as well as some of the other volunteers. So, but he's the one who's most of it invested in my race. So
yeah, of course,
kind of nice. right? And then Rich, MC's husband was down there, and same story. Like they were like tracking me and MC pretty close just to make sure that we were okay. It's our first time, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like having them there was really, it was a lot. It was everything. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like a regular race where it's like, okay, babe, I'll see you in 6 hours because, you know, whatever. And if you don't roll in 6 hours, 6.5, right? Like, and then it's like 8 hours for 5 days. You know, it's a hell of a lot of worry for a loved one to have. Because, I mean, I don't know. I know when I would go off racing because of Paula's lack of faith in my returning, the look in her eyes when I set off on something, when everybody's just like, fuck, that's so crazy. Like, my race, you know? So it's just like, and 6 days has kind of a reputation for being hard on the rider. So I could just imagine like what Josh is thinking. And then, you know, and he knows you. So you're going to be saying things silly enough like, yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm okay. And does that really mean that? Like, you know,
And the funniest thing is like, I actually, during the race, super calm.
Yeah, that's creepy.
I've never been so chill at a race. Like I was just coming through checks like, no, I'm good. It was just that one time where I was a little bit like where it kind of spilled over that I was like, I'm really tired and I crashed and I scared myself. And then you just asked me if I was okay. So I'm crying, but I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, it's because they asked. It's because they asked, and it gave your body. It's like what you were talking about earlier about when your body decides to be sick, you know?
Yeah.
So you were like in race mode, and then someone gave you like a reality check moment. So you're like, all of a sudden now you feel real. And so you're crying.
Yeah.
You know,
totally.
Had they been polite and just kept their mouth shut. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
That rude son of a bitch.
Josh was also the one who's like, your support person's kind of helping you with your food and stuff. And I'm celiac. So like, and we're in small town France. Like I couldn't eat
everything's made out of bread
anywhere.
Yeah.
Literally for like almost the entire time until the last 2 days, I had to eat my own like home cooked food, like from the grocery store, which is fine. The produce there was insane.
Yeah.
I feel like all I ate was tomatoes, but
they were good. So who cares?
And, oh, totally. And the best nectarine I've ever had in my entire life.
Oh,
but,
wow.
It's so weird what you remember. I'm like the nectarine and the tomatoes. There was a cheese truck.
Oh God! Thank God you're not lactose.
Well, a little bit, but cheese is all right.
That's fine. Yeah, I'll suffer for the right things. Yeah.
Yeah, but he would make my dinners, and he was making breakfast, and like and then like he was prepping mousses in tires for the next day and helping me with like air filters and driving around like a NASCAR driver, just trying to get to everywhere in time, and for me and others, right? So it's actually it's intense for support, but it's good when people are like, they want to be there and they want to support. So I feel like it would be an adventure to go as support. Yeah,
I could see that. I'm curious to doing it. Like really. I
mean, if you can and want to, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. I just want to see it all. I don't think I'm a good enough rider to participate. I mean, I know I'm redneck enough that I will get through all 6 days, but like I crash a lot, and I've had so many DNFs from.
I did some of that.
Yeah, I have like DNFs from like breaking shit, so it's just like, you know, the potential for that. But whatever. I mean, it's just a day, so yeah.
They do have club classes.
Yeah. Oh, if anything, I would just do club class because it's like doing it for fun. Like there's no pressure.
I know Josh, it's definitely something on his list too. He's like, maybe I want to do this. And I'm like, oh, okay, here comes the support person adventure. It's my turn.
There you go. Yeah. Like, hell yeah. Like, I mean, and you'd be a great like support person, especially since you've been there and you get what all the steps mean for somebody. So yeah, I could actually see you being more stressed out like as a support person than you would have been as the rider.
I think I would. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was losing my mind probably the whole time.
That's crazy.
It's just like, he's probably be like, calm down, please stop talking to me. And I'm like, no, but what about?
Hey, listen, I'm the one riding the race. You're freaking me out. Like, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, totally.
So what's your biggest takeaway then from the whole thing from 6 days?
My biggest takeaway?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think for me, it was kind of a profound experience. Like, cause like I had this goal always to do like a international level, sport and compete at it.
Yeah.
Cause I tried so many times as a kid, and things like with celiac and everything got in the way, and I was always having issues. So, and then finally getting to go, and you're always going to encounter people who don't think you're good enough, and you don't think you're good enough. And I have I've been low confidence probably my whole life. So to stop telling yourself that and actually kind of buy in or drink the Kool-Aid that you can do it. It was kind of like altering for me as a whole.
I could see that.
So if anything, like my takeaway is like, fuck, don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Like you legitimately can do it and it's fine. Like there's no use in letting all that other negativity happen, because it was just it's overwhelming, right? And it just tears you down. So like being your own worst critic is not always healthy.
No, definitely not. Like one thing I can guarantee is that the only person that thought you couldn't do it was you.
Yeah.
Because everybody else thought so.
Just tell it. Well, I mean, some people didn't, but that's okay. But I mean, the people that care and the people that ride with you and who believe in you, like the people who came out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Again, like it was the whole entire experience, like I said, like from start to finish, including all of the training and all of the prep and the interactions I had with people, and then the experience I had for myself and how I came out of it on the end of it. Like it was so profound that I will never forget it. And I just like, if there's something like that you got to do for yourself, just do it.
Yeah.
Because it was so worth it. And I think like I'll never forget it. And it was just, it was amazing.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I'll wrap that one up here. Is there anybody you want to thank before we close this off?
Yeah, sure. 100%. I'm starting with Josh. Like there's too many things to thank him for. He's just my best friend and he helps me with everything and my biggest cheerleader. And then KTM Canada, they helped me out this year. They kind of stepped up and really supported me. So KTM Canada, as well as CycleWorks Calgary, like they're my team. And then along the line, just, Fox and Bulletproof, Recluse, Mongoose Machine, Sosa, Rad 2.0 with Shane Cuthbertson, my friends, Melissa and Steve, they really helped me out. My parents, all the companies that helped me out, all the individual people who actually stepped up and donated to help me kind of live my personal dream. It makes me want to cry. It was amazing.
Yeah. It's okay to cry about this stuff. Like it's emotional stuff. Like people who pretend like it's not, like it's just another Wednesday. I don't know.
Totally, right?
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode. I want to thank my guests for taking the time to sit down and chat with me. A special thank you to you, my supporters. Without you, this would not be possible. If you enjoyed the show, give it a 5-star rating. And if you haven't already, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. If this is your first time listening, I encourage you to take the 3-episode challenge. Once again, thank you for your continued support, and stay tuned to find out what's coming up next time.